Are you tired of this? Me too. So today we are going to be talking about brain rot and horror. Now, before we get into what I would consider brain rot, I want to go ahead and define exactly what brain rot means. The definition of brain rot is the supposed deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state, especially viewed as the result of overconsumption of material considered to be trivial or unchallenging. So basically, the generic, mindless, endless scrolling that you experience when you're on TikTok or YouTube Reels, that's how some of these films are going to feel. This is also going to be the first time that I do an unscripted video, so it might sound a little different. So if we get into how exactly brain rot translates into horror film, I would categorize it into 5 things. There's simple story writing, bad special or practical effects, sex appeal just for the sake of attention, generic themes, and using nostalgia for views. So the way this whole video started was I went to go watch I Know What You Did Last Summer in theaters, and in the middle of the film, it was the first time this year that I genuinely felt bored watching a movie, and I really wanted to just leave. But I had to sit there and sit it through. While the movie wasn't the worst movie I had ever seen, it just felt like it fit the whole brain rot aesthetic that I'm thinking of. This film was supposed to be almost like a remake, is at least how I got from the trailer. But after watching it, I realized it did its own kind of Scream thing where it continued on the first movies. So it may be a little controversial to say, but I really didn't like the original I Know What You Did Last Summer. I was watching it and thought it was a pretty generic slasher film. And honestly, I think the only reason that it even has any popularity today is because of the Wayans brothers using some scenes in Scary Movie.
What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
So while watching the I Know What You Did Last Summer, the 2025 one, I noticed that it took exactly what the first movie was and just basically redid the whole idea, but added a more modern touch to it. So that does lead us to see the brain rot in the nostalgic bait, trying to get people to watch a movie because of the first original movie. So another thing I would consider brain rot is its whole adaptation to modern society, using terms and words that are more popular today.
Why don't you go upstairs and do that guided meditation you like?
Which some movies do it well, but this movie just felt like really cringy and hard to stomach whenever the dialogue was being said. And after walking out of the theaters, I was so disappointed that I wrote this whole movie idea up and decided to just basically yap about my consideration for brain rot, horror, and what other movies made me feel this way. So the second movie on the list is going to be a pretty old one. It's Troll, but the second part. So Troll 2 was released in 1990, and the film knows that it's a bad film, but the first one did it just way better in my opinion. The second one felt like it was taking the quote-unquote success of the first film and just trying to reiterate that, but it was done in such a poorly manner and the budget was just lower.
Oh my God!
The puppets used for the creatures were just so bad when you compare it to the first film. The story for the film, it was just everywhere, not even in like a this is bad kind of way, more of like a this doesn't make sense at all kind of way. And honestly, it's just sad to see what they did with the second one. Whenever you watch the first one, I personally love the first one, even though it's a pretty bad film. Going on to the third film, This is one that I watched when I was a child, which I know sounds kind of bad, but I remember being slightly afraid of it. And then I grew up and I watched the original that this movie was based off of. And the original is so good of a film. So this third one is The Wicker Man, but the 2006 remake with Nicolas Cage and the iconic "Not the Bees" scene.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah! Open my eyes! Eyes! Ah!
If you've seen this film, I feel like I don't have to really say much on it. I mean, not the bees. Just, that alone is kind of enough. That scene alone, just watch it on YouTube. It's not even worth watching. But I consider this brain rot because of the nostalgic bait again, trying to get people to watch a movie because they like the first one, which is a pretty common theme in this list. And I don't understand how they messed up a movie so bad. They could have literally copied the first one and made a blatant ripoff. It would have been better than whatever this movie was. I was supposed to rewatch it, but honestly, I remember it being so bad that I didn't even want to spend any time watching it again. So that leaves us to our last film on the list, and this one may be a little controversial. So this is The Nun, the first Nun movie, and I wanted to include this film because the build-up for this character was really cool.
Mom. Who's that?
Seeing it in the Conjuring series, and we got small tastes of what this character was like. The character's name is Valak, which is the evil nun in the film. And when I heard that she was getting her own movie, I was pretty excited. I was ready to watch the film. The first thing that happened was I went to go watch this film in a small theater, and the experience in the theater was terrible. There were people taking flash pictures on Snapchat, and everyone was talking. It was packed. It felt like it was a playground, but in a theater. And so I had to walk out, and I got refunded my tickets. But later on, a couple weeks, I went to go rewatch the film in actual silence. And something I did want to bring up was the cheap jump scares advertisement. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but for a while on Twitter, there was an ad that had some volume tracker going up, and then it was just Valak just jumping straight out at you. I had so many complaints that the company had to actually take the advertisement down. You can actually find it still on YouTube, though. I was heavily disappointed with this film. It was literally just cheap jump scares all throughout. We did get a little bit of an exploration on the Valak character, but even that, the story and the build-up and the ending, it was just pure brain rot for the sake of trying to make money. And yeah, I was very disappointed with it. So I also wanted to make this video because I don't really hear many people talking about brain rot in the horror film industry, and I just wanted to ask you, what did you think about my choices here? Do you agree with anything that I said, or do you have movies that you think I should have included in this list? Give me some suggestions for what you consider brain rot, and if I haven't seen them, I'm more than happy to watch them. This is the first part to another video that I want to make where I talk about anti-brain rot horror and what people commonly call slow burn horror films. Make sure to like this video and subscribe if you'd like to see that video, which should be next. Thank you for watching.